I'm Dr. Rudi Newman, a historian and author working with Hertfordshire's library service. And in this series, we'll be revealing some of the important, obscure, and sometimes unusual stories to be found in Hertfordshire's history. One part of Hertfordshire has a well-known but unusual claim to fame. It has seen World War II bombing, espionage, revolution, romance, supernatural incidents, space travel and superheroes. Borehamwood is, of course, home to the famous Elstree Studios, producers of films and television programmes from the Damslattery and Star Wars to the Saint and EastEnders. The studios, however, have a much more complicated history, originally comprising several different studios and being instrumental to British film development. In 1914, the first studio was opened here by the Neptune Film Company. Only running for a few years, it featured Britain's first artificially lit dark stage, possibly the first in Europe, a staple of the industry today. Passing between owners, in 1925, Borehamwood gained a second studio in competition, under British National Pictures Limited. This had cutting-edge technology, with the ability to record sound. In 1929, Alfred Hitchcock producing Blackmail, Britain's first talkie. Another that year was Atlantic, a retelling of the Titanic disaster, which became the first Anglo-German film collaboration and Germany's first talkie. Whitehall Films Limited opened another studio in 1928, renamed the Reigate Studio in the 1950s by J. Arthur Rank, while the British and Dominion Studios, the fourth in the area, was completed in 1930. These, however, became only minor players in the history of Elstree Studios, the latter in particular burning down in 1936. During World War II, production understandably diminished considerably, the individual studios being taken over for war work and storage. Production only fully recovered by the 1950s, and with the takeover of the respective studios by new firms. Danziger Studios was opened at this time, the sixth in the area, but closed in 1962. Having three primary studios active by the 1960s, it was these that would cement Borehamwood in modern culture. The original Eldon Avenue studio, by now owned by Lou Grade's ATV, focused on television productions. Classics such as Morecambe and Wise, The Muppets and The Prisoner were recorded at Borehamwood until the 1980s, when a restructure and licensing stipulations meant the firm needed to move to the Midlands. The studio was taken over by the BBC in 1984, specifically to produce a new soap, first released in 1985, EastEnders. The second Shenley Road studio, originally from 1925, was used by the Associated British Picture Corporation for productions such as The Saint, The Avengers, and the famous film The Dambusters. Taken over by EMI in 1969, the British film industry was in a poor state before being turned around by films including The Railway Children, Murder on the Orient Express, and The Shining, the latter directed by St Albans resident Stanley Kubrick. The most significant for the financial stability of the studio, however, was the 1977 Star Wars, in turn leading to several Lucas productions in both that series and under Indiana Jones. Nonetheless, despite its fame, the studio was listed for sale in 1985. Plans for its demolition, though, were blocked by a public campaign, instead being purchased by the local council. Continuing operation, it famously became the location of the Big Brother House, built on the site of the underwater stage used in the Dambusters. The third post-war studios, originally built in the 1930s, was run by MGM from 1944, with films such as The Man Who Never Was. In 1968 it became the base for Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, but with this 2-year production taking ever more space, ultimately using the entire studio, the financial damage largely led to its closure in 1970. Today, BBC Elstree continues to produce series including Holby City and EastEnders, with the iconic set recently rebuilt. Elstree Film Studios Limited is also in full operation, home to Strictly Come Dancing, Have I Got News for You, and Pointless, amongst others. Many famous and popular films and programmes have been produced at the Elstree Studios over its 116-year history, as they continue to be, so making the site pivotal in British film history, and a special place for all film enthusiasts. If you would like to know more, there is plenty available, and Hertfordshire libraries are a great place to start, with many online resources alongside material in your local library. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thanks for listening.